Hello and welcome to Volusia Magazine. I'm Amber Patterson. On today's show, we'll take a look at what it takes for Volusia County's Emergency Operations Center to respond when disaster strikes. And did you know that with the arrival of summer is a fertilizer ban that prohibits the use of nitrogen or phosphorus during our rainiest season? We'll take a look at Daytona Beach International Airport numbers, and health reporter Stephanie Strong brings us a message from the Volusia County Health Department. Later in the show, Business Beat reporter Joanne Magley takes a look at what businesses can do to prepare for natural disasters, especially as we head into hurricane season. Community Information Director Dave Byron is joined in the studio by his guest, Florida Department of Transportation Regional Office spokesperson Steve Olson. Those segments, news, and more coming right up on Volusia Magazine. Stay tuned. When a hurricane is bearing down on Florida, Volusia County's Emergency Operations Center, called the EOC, kicks into high gear. Disaster response personnel from across the county assemble and gather and disseminate information, and more importantly, they coordinate responses to rapidly changing situations.
Today is our annual hurricane exercise. We're participating not only here in Volusia County, but we're also working with a statewide Hurricane Gibson that emergency managers across the state of Florida are also participating with. So wonderful opportunity for the Volusia County staff as well as our municipalities and other organizations to come together and go through a hurricane scenario, what it would be like, the problems we would encounter from flooding to evacuations to sheltering, animal control issues. So we provide a number of injects, meaning we give our emergency support functions a number of individual problems for them to be able to deal with and work through and hopefully find solutions.
The Emergency Operations Center, which opened in 2013, provides a central location for large-scale emergencies such as hurricanes, wildfires, and mass casualty incidents. The building is designed to resist 180-mile-per-hour winds and an EF3 tornado, while the 4,000 square foot emergency operations room can hold 90 emergency response personnel during disasters. The Emergency Operations Center is the site of training activities throughout the year.
We continue to work very hard every year in our preparedness efforts, not only through the hurricane exercises, but all the other training programs that we conduct throughout the year, as well as orientation to the Emergency Operations Center, introduction to the Emergency Operations Center. So there's always a lot of work that's ongoing throughout the year. We have our quarterly partners meetings where we bring our emergency management coordinators in, we bring our universities and municipalities in to talk about preparedness efforts. And we bring a variety of topics to the table to be able to educate everyone on issues that are going on with public works, something new with the universities, or whether it's in public assistance and what might be going on with the federal government. So by bringing everybody in, it's a way for everybody to continue to work together.
The Emergency Management Division oversees the county's comprehensive emergency management plan, which addresses preparations for evacuations, mass casualties, terrorism, tsunamis, special needs shelters, recovery efforts, long-term housing, and hazardous materials. Employees also work year-round to review the emergency action plans for 7 hospitals and 134 healthcare facilities. They manage state and federal grants, continually assess the county's vulnerabilities, coordinate the county's flood plan management issues, and maintain a special needs registry. Hurricane season begins June 1st. Are you prepared? You can visit volusia.org/emergency for detailed tips on preparing your home and your family for a hurricane or a disaster. In Florida, summer rains wash fertilizers with nitrogen and phosphorus into lakes and rivers, and that damages what makes the state so beautiful. That's why it's illegal in Volusia County to use fertilizers with nitrogen or phosphorus during the summer rainy season, and why slow-release fertilizers are required through the rest of the year. Volusia County's fertilizer ordinance applies to all homes and businesses except those in Deltona and DeBary, which have their own fertilizer ordinances. Gardens and compost are exempt. The ordinance includes these provisions. The application of fertilizers containing nitrogen or phosphorus is prohibited from June 1st through September 30th of each year. Fertilizer may not be applied within 15 feet of a body of water. The application of fertilizers containing phosphorus is prohibited unless a soil or plant tissue deficiency is verified. Fertilizer containing nitrogen may be applied only between October 1st and May 31st, and it must contain at least 50% slow-release nitrogen. Volusia County Council passed the fertilizer ordinance last year in response to growing environmental concerns in the state's waterways, particularly the Indian River Lagoon system, where algal blooms and animal deaths have raised concerns.
The purpose of this ordinance is to help to reduce the amount of runoff of fertilizers into our surface waters and into our groundwater. Fertilizer runoff, when it enters into our surface waters, increases the algae growth. And whenever we have algae growth, that can lead to fish die-off and other issues related to the marine and the freshwater system. As far as fertilizer runoff into our groundwater, that can cause groundwater pollution problems. And in Volusia County, we have numerous springs. We are finding that the nitrogen levels of our springs has been increasing throughout the years. One potential source of that nitrogen is over-fertilization.
For more information about fertilizer use and soil testing, you can call the University of Florida Volusia County Extension at 386-822-5778, or you can visit volusia.org/fertilizer. Passenger traffic at Daytona Beach International Airport increased 1% in April when compared with April of 2014. During April, 60,939 passengers arrived and departed through the county-operated airport. This compares with the 60,152 travelers recorded last April. For the last 12 months ending April 30th, 635,489 passengers traveled through the airport compared with 614,947 recorded for the prior 12 months. That's a 3% increase. While there are more available seats in April of this year, passenger loads declined from 94% to 91% for Delta Airlines and U.S. Airways, the airport's main carriers. Steve Cook, DBIA's Director of Business Development, also noted the increase in April that it continues an upward trend that began several years ago.
So we think that trend is going to continue to a stable to increasing environment here for air traffic for the balance of this year. I think the market is moving up nationally. It's going to be a great travel summer actually this year, so we're going to see that. And we think around the airport and in our community, the economy continues to get better.
He added that numerous area construction projects, including Daytona Rising, the Trader Joe's Distribution Center, capital improvements at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, and the I-95 interchange upgrades have all had a positive impact on airline service demand looking toward the remainder of 2015 and 2016. JetBlue Airways recently announced new nonstop service between Daytona Beach and JFK International Airport in New York City, beginning early next year. Airport officials also continue to seek new air service. For flight schedules and more about the airport, you can go to flydaytonafirst.com. Hurricane season is here, and not only do families need to have a preparedness plan, businesses need to make sure they are prepared in case disaster strikes. Business Beat reporter Joanne Magley brings us more.
During a disaster, a number of representatives from various agencies work together out of the Emergency Operations Center in Daytona Beach. Emergency Support Functions, or ESFs, consolidate multiple agencies with similar functions into one unit for disaster response. Examples include police, fire, utilities, public information, and business and industry. Volusia County Emergency Management took the business industry model a step further by adding a public-private business operations center to ESF 18.
The Business Operations Center is a coordination point for businesses. It's a place in which they can communicate with the county EOC or they can also communicate business to business on their needs.
Rick Moore is a planner with Volusia County's Emergency Management Division and says it's critical for businesses to be in communication with the EOC during a disaster.
The reason this is so important is because we've learned historically that following a disaster, you want to get the community back on its feet as quickly as possible. And that means getting businesses on their feet.
The Business Operations Center was developed through a cooperative effort between the county's Emergency Management Division, Career Source Flagler Volusia, and the Greater Daytona Area Chamber of Commerce, with the Chamber being the lead agency for ESF 18.
It's important for the business community to have representation at the EOC so that we can assist during and after a disaster when needs come up very sporadically. We have access to businesses and services readily and can make those linkages in a very quick manner. Oftentimes businesses have needs for products and services, and we want to keep that business local to help those businesses get back and up and running even sooner.
The Business Operations Center works to aid businesses with disaster preparedness planning, report partial and full closings, provide a database of local resources, and establish a coordinating center for matching resources with needs during disaster recovery.
The Business Operations Center is actually a part of our overall response, and it's activated at the request of the EOC. A company can call it, or a business or an individual organization call them and say, hey, I have a need for widgets. And they can look in their database and find somebody who has those widgets in order to keep that business operational.
Moore encourages all businesses to register with the Business Operations Center.
All they have to do is call the Center for Business Excellence, and they can talk with the staff there to be put into the database where they enter what resources they have that others may use. Now, we're not talking about duplicating the yellow pages. These are things specifically that you would need following a disaster. For instance, refrigeration, generators, lights.
That number is 386-323-2106. For the Business Beat, I'm Joanne Magley.
The Florida Department of Health in Volusia County has partnered with Volusia County Schools to offer the school-based dental sealant program. Stephanie Strong has details in this segment of Community Health Matters.
What are dental sealants? Dental sealants are thin plastic coatings that are applied to the grooves on the chewing surfaces of the back teeth to protect them from tooth decay. Most tooth decay in children and teens occurs on these surfaces. Sealants protect the chewing surfaces from tooth decay by keeping germs and food particles out of these grooves. The Florida Department of Health in Volusia County is currently offering the school-based dental sealant program to kindergarten through 5th graders at Title I schools. Parents must sign a permission form before the work can begin.
Now on my tray, I have some things that we'll go over. When the children visit us at the schoolhouse, we're going to provide for them a soft toothbrush. They're going to have a tube of toothpaste and some dental floss. They will also have a tooth timer that they'll be able to use to be able to promote the 2 minutes of brushing that needs to occur morning and night. When they come into our room, they ask a lot of questions. We're going to show them everything on our tray that we're going to use before we ever use this. We do a show, tell, do show so that they know exactly what's going on.
Which teeth are suitable for sealants? Permanent molars are the most likely to benefit from sealants. The first molars usually come into the mouth when a child is about 6 years old. Second molars appear at about the age of 12. It is best if the sealant is applied soon after the teeth have erupted before they have a chance to decay.
Now, in order to take care of teeth, we must brush 2 times a day, morning and night, to remove all the bacteria that builds up on our teeth. We want to remove that and see our dentist every 6 months, but there's also another great advantage that we can do to adult permanent teeth, which is to take care of those surfaces that could possibly get cavities.
Are sealants visible? Sealants can only be seen up close. Sealants can be clear, white, or slightly tinted, and usually are not seen when a child talks or smiles. For more information about the school-based dental sealant program, please visit volusiahealth.com. For Volusia Magazine, I'm Stephanie Strong, Public Information Officer for the Florida Department of Health in Volusia County.
Time now to head into the studio to join our very own Community Information Director, Dave Byron, as he sits down with his guest, Steve Olson, a spokesman for the Florida Department of Transportation's Regional Office.
Well, thanks, Amber, and hi, everyone. Hard to believe Sunrail commuter train service through Volusia, Seminole, and Orange counties is now a year old. The station in DeBary, the lone station in Volusia County, has been among the busiest since train service began. Today, our guest in the studio is Steve Olson. He's a spokesman for the Florida Department of Transportation in the DeLand office, and we'll get his take on how things have gone with Sunrail in the last year, some of the lessons learned, and what we can try to do to improve the service. So we're pleased to have with us Steve Olson.
Thank you, Dave. Thanks for having us here.
How you doing?
Things are great. Sunrail really is humming along. We're really pleased after that 1 year. Now, you mentioned the DeBary station. That's usually #1 or in the top 3. I mean, that is a very popular station here in Volusia County.
End of the line right now, anyways, on the northern part of the system. Hey, for those folks that, may be new to the area, may not fully understand Sunrail, let's start with a basic description. What is Sunrail train service?
It's a commuter rail. Now, we do have a robust leisure component to it. A lot of people take it, let's say, to Winter Park to go out to eat and come back. But for the most part, it's commuters riding to downtown Orlando or points beyond.
Right.
And so we've got 32 miles. We start up in DeBary on the north end, and we end up at Sand Lake Road on the south side. We've got 12 stations, 12 stops.
The whole concept of Sunrail is to get people to work Monday through Friday, correct?
Well, yes. I mean, that's how it started out. Now, there's probably going to be an evolution process as it moves forward through the years. But right now, that's the process and the main function of it, too.
Right.
But again, we're still seeing that robust leisure ridership after hours for some of the games and venues in downtown Orlando, and even during the off-peak, where on a Friday, for instance. We're convinced that a lot of people have 3-day weekends around here because our Friday ridership is pretty good. And so we'll see a leisure component. Folks going down, let's say, to Winter Park or downtown Orlando to hit the restaurants and then turn around and come home.
Let's talk about the operating structure of Sunrail, because it involves multiple partners, and eventually the management for Sunrail is going to switch. Tell us how that works.
Well, we have 5 partners. Volusia County is one of them. We have Seminole County, we have Orange, we have Osceola, and the city of Orlando. And so all those partners are involved in the Sunrail system here and work with the Florida Department of Transportation. We're funding it, the operations, for the first 7 years. We're 1 year into it, so we have 6 more to go. And so eventually that will turn over to the local partners. And so it's very important that everybody is engaged, especially when we start getting into these discussions that we're probably going to talk about in a little bit about, well, do we expand, more at night or during the day? Do we start going on weekends? And, when you're talking about, capital cost and maybe operational cost, the partners are pretty concerned about that and want to know just, what it's going to mean moving forward for them and how they can plan and budget for that type
I think
of stuff.
that's an important point, Steve, because as you just mentioned, there is excitement about Sunrail for other purposes than just commuter, the Monday through Friday daily worker. As you well know, I mean, Sunrail has experimented with some, leisure travel. You've had some weekend service to the Winter Park Art Festival, big weekends in Orlando, Orlando Magic, Orlando Lions, and that sort of thing. And a lot of people have been excited about that. But you just pointed out that there's a cost to this. And so it seems like the dilemma right now is how do you kind of evolutionize that service, and yet the cost is going to be borne by local governments at some point.
And also the challenge is we want to bring that ridership level up. We're hovering around maybe just shy of that 4,000 boardings per day after the year 1, and we want to increase that even more. So that you have your fare box. We were operating about 20% fare box during the first year, and you want to bring that up, of course, a little more. So that was pretty good for year 1. But again, you want to build your ridership, and then before you you know, then the question is, I guess, is chicken and egg. Do you need to expand it to bring more riders in, or do you need more riders before you expand it?
Right.
You know, and so we're going through a lot of that right now in that discussion with our local partners.
You know, you mentioned the ridership, Steve. If I'm not mistaken, I think the target ridership was 4,300 a day, and you're not there right now. You know, what are you going to do, or what are some of the ideas that are on the table to bring that ridership up?
Well, we're not there consistently. There's some days we hit that 4,300 or even beat it. But the question is, you know, maybe some of those off days, like a Monday for some reason when the ridership is maybe not as high, you know, how do you bring that up consistently? I think what you do is you hit them with you know, you got clean trains, this is efficient transportation, courteous staff, we'll get you there on time. I-4 construction, we're thinking that's probably going to push a lot of people to the trains. That's where we're going to be rebuilding 21 miles of I-4 in the metro area of downtown Orlando from Seminole County to just you know, south of Orlando. So, you know, we're thinking that'll push some folks to the train, especially the folks who are commuting from Volusia to downtown Orlando and using I-4.
Steve, you know, it was reported in the Orlando Sentinel recently, and I've seen some budget figures that during the first year of operation, there was a difference between revenues and expenses of something like $27 million.
Right.
What's the reaction to that? I mean, I guess a lot of people that don't understand how public transit works and so forth might have been surprised at that number. I mean, what was your reaction to it?
Well, if you look at it, it was our fare box recovery was around 20%, which is what we said that we would do for that first fiscal year. So we're on target there. Again, we want to grow that, but you know, that is the commitment that the state is making moving forward, and, and those are the operational costs as we move forward and expand that the local government partners will have to look at and also assume. But that's why it's very critical to build up that customer base, get more people riding. Look at some things like your fiber optics on the track. We have fiber running down the line. Is there a way we can maximize that, bring in more revenue? Advertising revenue. There are all kinds of opportunities there, but this is year one, and a lot of this stuff, you know, you need to work on over time, year 2, year 3, and then so that when the transition comes, you got a pretty decent turnkey system for the locals.
But I mean, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think that the mindset that Sunrail is going to pay for itself is probably, no pun intended, going down the right track, because public transit in general doesn't pay for itself.
Well, correct. I mean, I think locally 30% is probably what we're seeing on some of the mass transit systems as far as return. But let's look at Interstate 4, for instance. You know, you put in...
There's no return on that.
Right. I mean, so basically, if you want that argument, you'd look at what our roads are. You know, you've got to build and maintain those, but you know, there's not necessarily monetary return as well.
DeBerry Station, as you mentioned, number 1, number 2 in terms of boardings. I've been down there numerous times when the parking lot was full. In fact, on some of those special movements, have been over full and been a little concerned down there. What's the future for the DeBerry Station? I've heard that there may be some parking expansion down there.
You heard right. I mean, we've got about 200 or so slots, and they're looking at nearly doubling it. And we believe we can sustain that. That's a very popular starting off point. You know, when Sunrail first came into being, you know, when we did our calculations according to the federal standards, we could only look at the general DeBerry area. The people driving from Deltona weren't factored in. So we're getting a lot of people from Deltona. We're getting people from even the DeLand area, Orange City, driving down there that weren't necessarily factored into that equation. And so we end up, you know, with a pretty full parking lot there, and that's a very popular starting and destination.
So are you saying that there, you know, I want to be clear, are you saying that there are plans to expand the parking lot down there?
Yes, we're working on the engineering and analysis right now.
Okay. Up the road in phase 2 is supposed to be the DeLand station, north of the DeBerry station, and there seems to be some concern right now as to what the future of that DeLand station is. First of all, is DOT committed to the DeLand station?
Yes, yes, we are. Now, there's some discussion because there's phase 3 that would go down to the Orlando International Airport, and some people are concerned that maybe phase 3 will jump ahead of phase 2 north. It's called phase 2 for a reason. It's far along. We're at 60% plans. We signed a pre-app, or working on the pre-app with the feds for a Tiger 7 grant for this extension, and we did that on May 4th. Sometime in early June, the app is going to go, the full app is going to go in, and we should know something by the fall. But as far as this regional office of FDOT, the leadership, we're committed to making that phase 2 north happen.
Well, what I'm hearing you say, though, Steve, is again, just for the clarity with the viewers here, the phase 2 funding for the DeLand station is not there right now. You're working on it.
Right, we're working on it. And it's different from what's happening on Phase 2 South.
Right.
Phase 2 South, there's a different pot of money, so to speak. Phase 2 North, we're going to go for that 50% federal funding a different way. We're looking at a Tiger grant. We also have some contingency plans if that doesn't work out, but we're really going to go hard for that fund.
And a Tiger grant, just again, for the simplicity, is a federal grant.
Correct, correct.
Right.
30, and we're looking at 50% match.
Are we, as a result of the fact that there is no guaranteed funding right now, are we off target in terms of when the DeLand station may come online?
We still want it to come online sometime in 2017.
Right.
We're shooting for that time period.
Right. And while I got you here, Steve, a couple of other things. You know, there's always talk about taking train service, whether it's Sunrail service or whatever, to Daytona Beach. What can you share with us as to where DOT is?
Well, there's a study going on right now, and we still have, even with the expansion of I-4 up here in Volusia County, they reserved a rail corridor from State Road 472 up till Daytona, right through the middle of I-4. The question is putting railroad tracks down there is kind of expensive.
Oh, you think so?
Oh, I think so. I know so. But they're looking at some alternatives. You know, can you bring rail from Daytona down to, down to the Sunrail station in DeBary? Does rapid bus transit work? What works there as far as connectivity on this east, from the east to west side? And so we're doing a study. But as far as Daytona, I think it has to be, is it feasible? And then what is feasible, and then what can you afford to do as far as a region and as a state?
Last question, not Sunrail related, but I-4 related. I mean, you've got this massive project underway in the Orlando area to expand I-4. About a 5-year project?
It's about 6 years.
6-year project.
And we're starting right now. What you're seeing now is a lot of the prep work, taking down trees, maybe some lane closures here and there as they start doing it, but probably the full brunt of it you'll start seeing summer, fall, a lot of lane shifts, temporary lane shifts and such. And that in and of itself will probably cause congestion, which will probably drive people to the
again,
Sunrail.
You think so?
I think so. Which will drive folks to the Sunrail train. So that'll be a 6-year journey that the whole Central Florida area will have to make, but that'll also offer people options. Sunrail's an option. The new I-4 will also be an option for them.
Okay, for people that want more information about Sunrail, sunrail.com?
Sunrail.com
and the I-4 project?
I4ultimate.com.
Well, Steve, I want to thank you for sharing the information with us. I have a feeling you're going to be real busy for the next 5 years.
Oh, it's great, though. It's a lot of fun.
Our guest today, Steve Olson. He's a spokesman for the 5th District Department of Transportation in DeLand. And with that, we'll go back to you, Amber.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you for watching Volusia Magazine. If you have any questions about the show, you can feel free to give us a call at any of the numbers you see listed here, or you can log on to volusia.org and click on the News tab at the top of the screen to find us. Incidentally, you can find the County Council's meeting calendar there too. In fact, you can use volusia.org to find out about meeting dates, workshops, topics of interest, activities, and how you can become involved. And we hope you won't forget to listen to Volusia Today. That's Volusia County Government's weekly public radio broadcast. Volusia Today airs every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Sunday mornings on the local radio stations you see on your screen. For Volusia Magazine, I'm Amber Patterson. Have a wonderful evening.